Hi, this is Brian Forster, and we're back in the Cairo Museum looking for evidence of ancient machining technology. What you can already see is a saw of some kind was used to rough cut this lid of this large granite box. This, on the other hand, is a limestone box that was made during dynastic times. But here again is another granite box. And as you all know by now, granite is a material that could not be efficiently shaped by the dynastic people. The hieroglyphics and other inscriptions were done during dynastic times, but the box itself is clearly pre-dynastic. This one weighing in somewhere in the region of 20 or 30 tons. And you can see that the hieroglyphics are cruder than the execution of the box itself. This is the giveaway. And now we're coming up to another one. You can see that there are no hieroglyphics whatsoever. And this is one that was never finished, and this gives us a lot of insight. There is Jim from Panama inspecting the interior of this roughly shaped box. And here we have the evidence of a large circular saw attempting to cut the lid off, but something went wrong and the lid broke off. And here you see this indentation line. This is the line that the cutter of the box was attempting to follow. Then we have the famous schist disc, described by many academics as being a fancy lotus plate for lotus flowers, but it's obvious that it's part of a machine, an impeller of some kind. The unfortunate thing is that it was found badly broken, and so the repair work done by the museum's staff was not as good as the original execution of the disc itself. You can see that it has 3 lobes, but the lobes are not angled and therefore would not efficiently push or pull water or air. It's one of the most curious artifacts in the museum, and it's amazing that it's still on display, because this is definitely one of the smoking guns of the presence of lost ancient high technology in pre-dynastic Egypt. Then we have these bowls, all in general of very hard stone, that were clearly turned on lathes. And even the labeling of them states that they are from the archaic period, which means pre-dynastic. So that means that the museum staff are indicating that these were created before the invention of even a simple potter's wheel. Now, if there were 5 or 10 of them, they would be curious artifacts, but in fact, almost all of them were found at the ancient site of Saqqara, and 30,000 to 40,000 of them were found. Once again, you see different materials, different shapes and sizes. Some are very thin, but clearly these had to have been produced on a lathe, and a lathe would have to have been powered by a motor of some kind to produce this. Then other odd objects like this one that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lobes on it. Very curious. And then this one you can see has crude hieroglyphics carved on it. It was damaged in the past, had to have been turned on the lathe. And here, even more of them. There are approximately 50 of them on display as far as I can remember, but the original cache was 30,000 to 40,000 of them, and there could in fact be many more. Here you see one which is not finished, which is interesting, and then one which is roughly shaped. And now, because we're in the museum, this has nothing to do with lost ancient high technology, but we're going to walk through the Tutankhamun display. Here you see the series of giant sarcophagi made of wood, but coated with a thin veneer of pure gold. And of course, the collection of these objects is quite large. Gradually, all of this material is being moved into the new Gem Museum, or Great Egyptian Museum, which is being finished on the Giza Plateau. So far, the cost is at 1.1 billion US dollars. And we're hoping that by the time we go back on our tour in March of 2020, that the museum will be open. It will be one of the largest, if not the largest, one-building museums in the world. Now here we have a travertine box. Notice I don't say sarcophagus because it may have been used as a sarcophagus, but travertine is not an extremely hard material, but the finish work that's done on it, these curves, these crisp edges, is quite phenomenal. As far as I can tell, work like this could not have been achieved during dynastic times. For example, these beautiful, perfectly circular holes. As you can see, the holes are perfectly circular. They're actually narrower at the bottom than they are at the top, or maybe it's the other way around, but it wasn't a simple tube drill that did that, something more complex. Again, look at the perfect curvature and the beautiful flat surfaces. Recycling was obviously done during dynastic times of pre-dynastic high technology workmanship. This gives you an indication of the drill technology that was employed to drill the holes in this large travertine box. There are in fact at least 2 or 3 of them in the museum. As far as we know, tube drill technology was not invented until the 1860s AD. Here, once again, you can see 2 of the drilled holes. And then this very curious object. It's made out of quartzite, which is a very hard stone, 7 out of 10 on what is called the Mohs scale of hardness, with 10 being diamond. It looks like some kind of game board, or maybe something used in for mixing paints. But the question is, how was it made? Because quartzite, very hard stone, almost perfect circles. It looks like it has been machined, and through the course of thousands of years of erosion and wear, the surfaces are not as smooth as they once were. Again, one of the very curious pieces that we find presently in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo that will be moved to the new Gem Museum in or on the Giza Plateau. And there is not just simply one of them, there are 2 on display. And what's also fascinating is that as these objects are moved to the new Gem Museum, other objects from the basement, which is a series of cavernous hallways stuffed full of artifacts, will be brought out. And so it'll be interesting to see what other examples of lost ancient high technology we'll be able to see when the new Gem Museum opens. Again, hopefully in March of 2020. Now another giant box made of granite. And more core drill holes we're going to see right there. Some people say that the dynastic people did this with copper tube drills, but that can't be possible because copper is very soft compared to granite, and bronze is very soft compared to granite. And so even if they use diamond dust, the teeth of the tube drill would start to wear very rapidly. And the tube drills would have to have been made perfectly round, which again is a technology not present during dynastic times. And then these interesting objects called pyramidons, they look like they are miniature pyramids or the capstones of pyramids, but look at the incredible catastrophic damage and the fact that the hieroglyphics are not of as high quality as the flat surfaces. So once again, an inherited ancient piece of work, inherited by the dynastic people, and then reused. In this case, what were flat surfaces with no ornamentation become flat surfaces with hieroglyphics. So here we are looking at these objects once again. The giant boxes, the pyramidon, another one of the pyramidons with ornamentation or hieroglyphics added after the making of the piece. We see more catastrophic damage of it. And then finally, we're going back to the giant unfinished box where we basically started. And this is looking at the detail of the interior. See the depressions in the corners. What tools were actually used to do the roughing out shape, we're still trying to figure out. And here you can see on the exterior, vertical saw marks. Again, vertical saw marks in granite. That requires basically diamond embedded tools. And then the groove there of the circular saw trying to cut the lid. The circular saw blade was about 6 feet in diameter. Notice how it tapers to a pretty sharp point. And then below it is another one, approximately 6 feet in diameter. They don't perfectly line up, and that is telling us that one of the blades, probably through wear or being pushed too hard, veered off course and caused part of the lid to snap off. The piece was simply abandoned. It wasn't recycled. Here we see more of the cutting marks of the saw blade.